Welcome back, listeners, to the Daily Catalyst, your weekly dose of inspiration for a thriving life. Today, we're diving deep into the expansive and ever-evolving world of health, wellness, self-improvement, and lifestyle. It's a huge umbrella, covering everything from what we eat to how we think, how we move, and even how we connect with others. Many people feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information out there, often leading to paralysis rather than progress. They see a perfect influencer lifestyle and think, that's impossible for me, or they get bogged down in conflicting dietary advice, ultimately doing nothing at all. But what if we could break it down into actionable, sustainable steps? What if we could shift our perspective from striving for an unattainable ideal to building a genuinely better, healthier, and happier life, one small, intentional choice at a time? Today, we're joined by wellness expert and life coach, Mark, who's here to help us navigate these waters. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to unpack this massive topic with you.
Thanks for having me. It's truly a pleasure to be here and delve into this. You hit the nail on the head. The overwhelm is real. I've seen countless individuals, many of them incredibly bright and capable in other areas of their lives, just freeze when it comes to personal well-being. They're bombarded with conflicting messages. Keto is king, then no, plants are paramount, or meditate an hour a day versus just 5 minutes of mindful breathing. It's enough to make anyone throw their hands up and retreat to the comfort of old, often unhealthy habits. My philosophy, and what I hope to share today, is that true health and wellness aren't about adhering to a rigid dogma or chasing some fleeting trend. It's about cultivating a deep, intuitive understanding of what truly serves you, and then building a lifestyle around that understanding. One that is flexible, forgiving, and deeply personal. It's about recognizing that wellness isn't a destination. It's an ongoing, fascinating journey of discovery and growth. It's about being kind to yourself through the process, celebrating the small wins, and learning gracefully from the inevitable bumps in the road. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And most importantly, it's about consistency over intensity.
That's such an important distinction, Mark, especially the idea of it being a journey rather than a destination. It immediately takes some of the pressure off, doesn't it? So let's start there. When we talk about health, wellness, and self-improvement, it often sounds like three separate pillars. But from your perspective, how interconnected are these? And how do you encourage people to adopt a truly holistic approach? Because it's not just about hitting the gym or eating salads, is it? It encompasses so much more. People might be physically fit but completely burned out mentally, or they might be intellectually brilliant but neglect their physical body entirely. There are so many facets to genuinely thriving, and sometimes people focus intensely on one area while completely ignoring another, creating an imbalance that ultimately undermines their overall well-being. How do we get people to see the bigger picture and understand that these elements are not isolated islands, but rather a dynamic ecosystem?
Absolutely. They are deeply, intricately intertwined, almost like the strands of a very strong, beautiful rope. You can't really pull on one without affecting the others. I encourage people to visualize their well-being as a wheel with multiple spokes: physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. If one spoke is significantly shorter or weaker than the others, the whole wheel becomes wobbly and inefficient, making the journey much harder. For instance, someone might be an avid marathon runner. Excellent physical health, right? But if they're constantly stressed about work, neglecting their relationships, and haven't found a sense of purpose, that physical prowess can only carry them so far before burnout or mental health issues catch up. I once worked with a client, Sarah, who was meticulously tracking her macros and lifting heavy weights, but she was sleeping only 5 hours a night, constantly irritable and completely isolated socially. Her physical health was objectively good, but her overall well-being was in tatters. We focused on improving her sleep hygiene, introducing mindfulness practices, and encouraging her to reconnect with old friends. Slowly, her anxiety lessened, her mood improved, and paradoxically, her physical training even saw better results because her body was truly recovering. It was a powerful demonstration that neglecting one area creates deficits in all the others. The goal is balance, not perfection in any single area, but rather a harmonious interplay between all aspects of your being. It's about understanding that your mind affects your body affects your emotions, and your emotions affect your relationships, creating this beautiful, complex feedback loop. When you nourish one part, you're inadvertently nourishing the whole.
That's a fantastic analogy, Mark. The wobbly wheel perfectly illustrates it. So, for someone who's just starting, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by the idea of addressing all these spokes at once, what's a practical, actionable first step? Is there a particular spoke you recommend starting with, or is it more about finding the easiest entry point for an individual? Because often, the biggest barrier to self-improvement is simply getting started, feeling like the mountain is too high to climb. People often think they need to overhaul their entire life overnight, which is simply unsustainable. What's that crucial first domino that can create a ripple of positive change? How do we empower people to take that initial, perhaps tiny, but incredibly significant step towards building momentum, especially when they might be feeling stuck or discouraged by past failed attempts?
That's a critical question, and I always emphasize starting small, ridiculously small if necessary. The biggest mistake people make is trying to go from 0 to 100 in a single day. They decide to run a marathon tomorrow, switch to a raw vegan diet instantly, or meditate for an hour every morning when they've never meditated before. The secret is consistency, not intensity, especially in the beginning. I often tell people to pick one thing, just one, that feels manageable and almost too easy. For example, if you want to improve your hydration, instead of aiming for a gallon of water, commit to drinking 1 extra glass of water first thing in the morning. That's it. Or if you want to move more, instead of planning a 60-minute gym session, just commit to a 5-minute walk during your lunch break. The goal isn't immediate transformation. It's about building a micro habit, a tiny win that sends a signal to your brain, hey, I can do this. Once that small habit is consistently integrated, and I mean consistently for at least 2 to 3 weeks, then and only then do you gently layer on another small habit. Think about it like building a Lego tower. You start with one brick, then add another and another. You don't try to place the roof before the walls are built. This approach significantly reduces resistance and makes the process feel less daunting and more like an enjoyable experiment. It's about proving to yourself through small, repeated actions that you are capable of change, that you can be reliable to yourself. This builds self-efficacy and confidence, which are far more valuable than any fleeting burst of intense effort. It's truly about identity-based habits, becoming the type of person who consistently chooses hydration or movement or mindfulness rather than just doing a single act.
That's brilliant. The ridiculously small approach makes so much sense. It shifts the focus from grand, often intimidating goals to achievable, confidence-building steps. Let's talk a bit about mental wellness, which is such a cornerstone of self-improvement and overall health, especially in our fast-paced, always-on world. Many people struggle with stress, anxiety, or just the relentless chatter of their own minds. What are some of your favorite, similarly ridiculously small practices that people can integrate into their daily lives to cultivate a calmer, more resilient mind? Because it's not just about managing crisis, is it? It's about proactive mental hygiene, like brushing your teeth for your brain. So, beyond the commonly heard advice of just meditate, what specific, easy-to-implement tools or perspectives can our listeners adopt to build mental fortitude and emotional balance, especially when life inevitably throws curveballs? And how do these seemingly small mental shifts create a profound impact over time, much like those micro-habits you just mentioned?
Mental wellness is absolutely crucial, and it's often the first thing to suffer when we're pushing too hard. Beyond formal meditation, which can feel intimidating for beginners, there are incredibly powerful micro-practices. One of my favorites is the 3-breath reset. Whenever you feel a moment of stress, overwhelm, or even just transitioning between tasks, simply take 3 slow, deep breaths. Inhale deeply through your nose, expanding your belly, hold for a count of 2, and then exhale slowly through pursed lips, really emptying your lungs. Do this 3 times. It's not a magical cure, but it literally downregulates your nervous system, pulling you out of the fight or flight response into a calmer state. It takes less than 30 seconds, and you can do it anywhere, in a meeting, in traffic, before answering a difficult email. Another powerful yet simple practice is gratitude glimpses. Instead of trying to write a long gratitude journal entry, simply take a moment at the beginning or end of your day, or even just during your commute, to identify just one thing you're genuinely grateful for. It could be the taste of your coffee, the warmth of your bed, a friendly smile, or a sunny sky. The key is to truly feel the gratitude for that tiny moment. This practice rewires your brain to look for positives, shifting your perspective over time. Think of it like training a muscle. The more you consciously practice gratitude, the stronger that muscle becomes, making it easier to find silver linings even on challenging days. I once had a client, Sarah, who started doing this, and within weeks, she noticed she was less reactive to minor annoyances because her brain was already primed to find something positive. These aren't just feel-good exercises, they're neuroplasticity in action, literally changing the structure and function of your brain to be more resilient and optimistic. They're about creating tiny pockets of peace throughout your day, which collectively build a fortress of mental strength over time. It's like tending to a garden. Small, consistent weeding and watering ensure a vibrant and flourishing outcome.
That's such fantastic tips, Mark, especially the 3-breath reset and gratitude glimpses. They're so accessible. It brings us back to the idea of sustainable habits. What are some common pitfalls you see people falling into when trying to build new routines? And how can they pivot and course correct when they inevitably stumble? Because let's be real, life happens. There are days when motivation is low or unexpected events completely